I'm Paola. I'm with the Auguste Escoffier School of Culinary Arts, and today we are going to be making a vegetable stir fry. The reason I really like teaching this recipe and doing this recipe in the classrooms is because we get to cook, we get to stir fry, so you learn that method of cooking, but also you get to sharpen and practice your knife skills. And that's what we're going to be working on first today. Before we get started with our vegetable stir fry and making sure we mise en place everything properly, I want to go through some basic knife skills and safety. Your basic knife skills are going to be essential to you for the rest of your life. They're going to be what makes you a really good cook. They're going to impart lots of ability for you to make many meals. So let's start with a little bit of safety first. So you have a cutting board. You always want to make sure that you have something underneath your cutting board. I like to use a damp cloth. You could also use a damp paper towel. I like to do this because a lot of times your cutting boards are not very sturdy. They shake and they move a lot. And if they do that, you are very likely to have some sort of injury and or a slip of the knife, and we don't want that when we're cutting things with sharp knives. So we want to make sure that your cutting board is nice and sturdy. So you could do that, like I said, paper towel, damp cloth, or maybe you have a, you can get some cutting boards with grips underneath. So that is what I do, cutting board nice and sturdy. So now we are going to make sure that we know how to properly use a knife. So blade, handle. So you don't ever want to hold your knife back here or very daintily. You don't want to make sure, have a finger up on your knife. You want to make sure that with your two pincher fingers, you're going to pinch right between the blade and the handle. The rest of your fingers wrap around. Now your knife has become an extension of your arm and it's nice and sturdy. This may feel really strange at first and not natural, but trust me, as soon as you start doing this on a daily occurrence, whenever you're chopping and slicing, it's going to start feeling very normal and a lot safer. So now with our other hand, we want to make sure that we are not keeping our fingers splayed out like this. This is a mistake I see a lot of people doing when they're cutting things. We want to make sure we use the claw. So the claw is all our fingers tucked in, including our thumb, because sometimes we forget about that. All our fingers tucked in so that if you do come close to your fingers, you are just hitting the knuckle with the blade, not your fingers or your fingertips or your nails. So we want to make sure we are always using the claw. Another common mistake I see sometimes people doing is when they're chopping, just doing this very hard motion. If you're doing that, you're not really getting a good proper cut on things. So you want to make sure that when you are slicing, chopping, dicing, you are using this back and forth motion. It's almost like a rocking motion. So claw, making sure that you are gripping your knife properly, and just a back and forth motion. And so you move your hands back, and if you're chopping here, making sure that's where your fingers are at, which is most importantly always away from the blade. So now that we have a sturdy cutting board, we know how to hold our knife properly, we're going to get started with our veggies. So I'm going to show you two ways to cut up your vegetables. The first way will be slicing everything thinly. The second way is going to be chopping everything into a small dice. This is the way I think about it. If I'm gonna have my stir fry with noodles, I like things sliced up. If I'm gonna have my stir fry with rice, I like things chopped up. That's my preference. And again, this is a vegetable stir fry, but just like anything else, that you want to add or eliminate, you can easily add protein to this, whether it be chicken, beef, pork, or tofu. You want to make sure you cut your bell peppers in half. Remove all the ribs and seeds inside. Make sure you have a grip on your pepper with the claw and start slicing your peppers into thin slices. Now, if you want to turn those thin slices into a small dice, just turn your strips over and chop into a small dice. For your red onion, we're going to cut the onion in half, making sure you keep that root intact. To thinly slice against the grain into thin slices. Now, if you wanted to chop that onion into a small dice, make some slices horizontally. Then you're going to turn the onion towards you and make some cuts vertically down. Turn the onion again and chop. For the mushrooms, flat side down and slice into thin slices. If you'd like to chop your mushrooms into a small dice, make some incisions vertically down and then chop horizontally to get small dice. We're going to put all that aside into our bowl. Now we have our vegetables for stir fry mise en place. For the sauce, we're going to thinly slice a bunch of scallions, place in the bowl. Now we need our minced garlic, so we're going to place one garlic clove at a time on our cutting board, smash it slightly with the blade away from us, remove the papery skin, make small incisions or slices down the garlic clove, and start chopping. Now to mince the garlic, we're going to have to keep chopping over the garlic quite a few times until it's very, very small. Now we're going to add our tamari or soy sauce, our rice vinegar, and our sesame oil. Give it a quick whisk and set aside. Now we have all our ingredients for our stir-fried mise en place. Now we're ready to cook. We're going to take our lid off. We're going to heat up our pan. Today I'm going to coat our pan with some grapeseed oil. This is a very neutral oil, not like olive oil with a lot of flavor. So that's what you want to make sure you have on hand. Something neutral that's now going to flavor up our stir fry. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to coat our pan. We're going to heat that pan and we're going to start cooking. When it gets hot, we're going to put all our vegetables inside, give it a good stir, making sure that all our vegetables are nicely coated with that oil. We're going to cook for 2 minutes, stirring occasionally. My rule of thumb for stirring is cook for 2 minutes, give it a stir. After 2 minutes, close the pot with the lid. If you didn't see any water coming out already, add a little bit of water, then close pot with lid. We're going to steam these veggies for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, we're going to remove the lid. Here is the time that if you want to add any already cooked protein, you can go ahead and add it, but only if it's already been cooked. Make sure you stir it to combine. Then we're going to add our sauce. Stir to combine all the ingredients. Now we're going to cook for another 3 to 4 minutes, stirring occasionally. Like I said, I like to cook for 2 minutes, stir, and we are done with our vegetable stir fry. So that's it. We're done cooking our stir fry, and now it's time to serve it and eat it, my favorite part. So you can serve this alongside noodles. I like lo mein noodles. I like rice vermicelli noodles. If you had some spaghetti left over, I'm utilizing some leftovers because I love making sure that my leftovers get eaten. So I'm pairing it today with some white rice. So that is it. You serve your vegetable stir fry, or maybe you decided to turn it into a chicken stir fry, pork stir fry, salmon stir fry, tofu stir fry. Whatever it is that you decided to do today, I hope that you enjoy. I'm Paula. I'm with the Augusta Escoffier School of Culinary Arts.